This week on Arizona Illustrated, hearing Isaiah.
What makes the majority of my life mine is the natural world.
An Arizona architect shares her favorite place.
Every visit is a trip, an opportunity for inspiration.
Conversations had on an epic bicycle trip across the Midwest.
I think it would be fair to say we were in a completely different world.
And the key to a transformative conversation on racial equality?
Listen. You know, just listen.
Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. Today we're filming at the U Arizona. And as always, the crew are wearing masks and we're being careful to keep an appropriate distance from each other. This campus will likely see an increase in students soon. Recently, UA President Dr. Robert Robbins announced the university will move forward now with phase 2 of the reopening plan on October 12th, meaning classes with 30 or fewer students can return to the classroom, and students who prefer a hybrid of in-person and online learning can continue to do so. Well, now, here's a look at what Pima County's coronavirus cases look like. While the U of A recently announced it would increase the number of students in classroom, Tucson Unified School District postponed any in-person learning until at least November, a reaction to the numbers that continue to cause concern. The number of cases per 100,000 has dipped, but 2 consecutive weeks are needed to meet the benchmark. The percentage of tests coming back positive continued to decline. Pima County's hospital visits for COVID-like illnesses remain steady and has been below 5% since late July. For more coronavirus information, including a link to the state's data dashboard, visit news.azpm.org. With the health of our planet challenged by climate change, novel viruses, population growth, and pressure on natural resources, rising environmental leaders will have their hands full guiding future generations to a safer, cleaner, more unified world. Young people like Isaiah Haley are good reason for optimism.
I grew up here. I've been here all my life. And yeah, I love it here. I really do. It's a unique place, and I don't think anywhere else is quite like it. Oh man. The breeze that goes by on like those really hot summer days where you could feel the sun in your bones practically. Some things really do stay the same here. Like seeing the mountains and the saguaros and the cactuses, the sunsets, the sunrises. Yeah, you can see the sky just start to light up, and it's really beautiful. No, they're brilliant. They're kind of breathtaking. When I was younger, I had a lot of social anxiety, and going out in public and asking for like an extra napkin or some ketchup or something, it was a really difficult task for me. I think Tucson being the welcoming environment that it is allowed for me to really move past that and grow into being comfortable with this is how I feel, this is what I think, and this is me. When it comes to dealing with those negative emotions and negative thoughts, going into nature helps me get out of that funk in my head. You're able to just be you and just exist in that moment and not worry about anything else that's going on around you. Yeah, it helps a lot.
Anybody who's had a personal experience in the natural world, that's one of the things that they value most, is that time to reflect and just to think and to sort of shed a lot of the stress from our daily lives. Isaiah came into the Ironwood Tree Experience Urban Field Station, and he walked in with a sense of purpose and conviction about why he should be a part of this program. We work with youth in our community because they are the future leaders. We work with the natural environment because that is the system that supports us, our health ultimately. Putting those together, connecting those youth with our natural environment, both in the urban area and outside the urban area, and building that sense of place. Isaiah has been involved with us for 2.5 years, and through that time he's engaged in 3 different internships, and he's part of our Youth Action Corps leadership team. He seems like he is ready to start something, has a sense of eagerness and excitement about his place in the future.
Hiking with my peers, it's really different. We're all kind of in the same place and time, but everyone has a completely different experience. Each of us has our own things going on in our head, and I think being able to conversate and connect on a level of like, oh, did you notice there's a moth on that tree that blends in really well? Everyone sees something different. There's beauty in everyone's eyes that they're just taking in, and to be able to share that with another person and get to know how they see things, you're able to see things differently.
We're really looking for, at one level, providing skills and a level of competency and comfort in our natural spaces. But in the short term, how can they take that and turn that into something that will help them make the next steps in their life? The opportunity to get outside and be immersed in the natural environment with the sounds and the smell, the wind in your hair, and even some of the discomforts. That's the challenging part. How do you work with the natural environment? How do you not fight against it? How do you appreciate the things that you're seeing and smelling, and even the discomfort? Those are things that make us feel alive.
Jumping into like freezing water. When you're okay with the little bit of suffering, it also gives you a sense of appreciation, because it's like, yes, I could feel it, the blood in my veins rushing, and my veins are constricting, and you know what, that's amazing that I'm able to even feel that. I'm fortunate enough to experience this. It helps me when I'm dealing with emotional problems that would have me struggling or stopping. Being able to fall back on, you know what, if I was able to jump in this 40-degree water and I could still run out and I'm fine, I could get through this. It's like it's pushing you, like a motivation, like, you know what, this isn't anything, like you could take on the world in a sense. I think for me that's really important.
While we do go into the field and we learn about the natural history and the ecological context of the way these systems work, discovery of the flora and the fauna and learning more about their natural history and their place, it's also about the free time, the contemplative time, looking for an opportunity of reflection and not have an agenda.
Being able to take a moment just for me and forget that everything else exists. Closing my eyes and just being in the moment. Breathing, smelling, feeling what's around me, and it really allows me to connect with what the environment has to offer. We did have that freedom, but also we're able to come together and, cook meals with each other. And I think breaking bread with each other, really just sitting down and enjoying a meal, especially in the wilderness. And then being able to clean up afterwards and then go get your flashlights and, oh, look it, there's a frog right here. Well, that's a canyon tree frog and that's a toad.
Teenagers want to connect. They are so looking forward to what we have in common instead of what separates us. And if they're able to do that in nature around hope desire, inspiration. That's awesome.
What makes the majority of my life mine is the natural world. For young adults, young people, everyone really who's concerned with the best possible future is very stressed right now. And I've talked with other youth and they agree, and it's like that spark of connection, like, yeah, you're passionate about this too. Well, you know what? Let's go, let's organize something. Let's get active in our communities. Let's really make a change. Let's get action.
When Arizona Illustrated teamed up with the Southern Arizona chapter of the American Institute of Architects and the Arizona Daily Star to create our series Favorite Places, most of us could imagine a specific building, park, or place that resonated with us. Well, local architect Tatyana Bresler went bigger. Her favorite place in Southern Arizona? The U Arizona campus.
The UFA campus is my favorite place in Tucson. Every visit is a treat, an opportunity for inspiration, a possibility to stretch the wings of imagination, and to glimpse into intriguing future. The college architecture is by design provocative, gutsy, edgy, and evokes students' and visitor imagination. By looking at almost any building on the UFA campus, you could guess which educational department occupies it. Environmental and Natural Resources 2 building by architect Jim Richard with Richard and Kennedy Architects is organized around a living and breathing central slot canyon created out of humble material derived from Sonoran Desert like concrete, corten steel, and glass. The canyon creates a microclimate on the southwest side of the campus and offers a deep connection to nature. Optical Science building shine like an open geode on a campus with a rough texture of the rock on 3 sides, and unbelievable discovery of open gem on northern facade. As for interpretation of Fresnel lens on the north, the sun rays bounce from prismatic crystal of the textured glass facade and defines the essence of optical science, together with 3 distinct skylights of the building. Brian Bannister Laboratory of Tree-Ring Research is a centerpiece of Tree-Ring Lab. The building design as an abstraction of the forest structure, with randomly clustered steel columns like tree trunks at the ground level and overstory shaded veil of aluminum tubes that floats on a wing like a tree canopy. Those stunning architectural examples inspire awe and evoke imagination. The UFA architecture marks a progression through time. It's not peering into the past as means for imitation, but is looking forward to what lies ahead. Is a bridge to the future, to the unknown.
Be sure to join us next week when we visit our next favorite place, High Corbett Field. As medical doctors, Eve Shapiro and Paul Gordon know the American healthcare system from the inside out. In the summer of 2020, ahead of the U.S. election, they took an epic bicycle trip across the Midwest to talk with people about how the current healthcare system is working and where it fails. Here is Miles to Go.
I know this is back to square one, but where are you guys and what are you doing?
At the moment, we are in Columbus, Ohio,
but the big picture of what we're doing does go back quite a few squares. 4 summers ago, I rode through the northern tier of the United States from Washington, D.C. to Seattle. And on that trip, I spoke to people about the Affordable Care Act. And what really struck me was how much misinformation there was. People didn't really understand what this whole idea of an attempt at universal health care was. So I said, I'm going to ride my bike. And probably the most important piece of that whole trip was the title that I used. It was the Bike Listening Tour. And indeed, listening was really the critical element. And listening basically means keeping your mouth shut. Stop interrupting people. Stop always thinking that your own agenda is more important than, in my research, the people with whom I was speaking and in my work, are patients. With the upcoming election, 2020, it seemed most appropriate to go out and talk again. Just tell me who you are, your name, whatever you want to use to help me understand who I'm talking with.
Gary and Sandra Davis from northern Minnesota.
My name is Steele Magna. I'm from Iron River, Michigan.
I am Carlene. We have lived in Fort Wayne for 24 years and have this bed and breakfast for 23 of those years.
So this time we broadened the themes and conversations to really focus more on healthcare in a broader sense than just the Affordable Care Act.
And I was hoping we could talk with people to explain some of the healthcare policy choices that the different candidates were discussing.
I'm with Bernie on Medicare for All.
My Medicare for All proposal.
We're signing a healthcare plan within 2 weeks, a full and complete healthcare plan.
I'll put your family first. That will begin with a dramatic expansion of health coverage.
We left on May 15th, the day that Governor Ducey lifted the stay-at-home order.
This is a good trajectory for Arizona.
And we drove to State College, Pennsylvania, which is in western Pennsylvania. It was just easier to not deal with planes, with the bikes and everything. So we drove and we started in State College. We went west into Ohio. We took the Ohio to Erie Trail, which goes north-south, and we went from Akron down to Cincinnati. From there, we rented a car and drove to Detroit, where we met a bunch of friends who were joining us. And then we rode up through the middle of Michigan, through Mackinac Island, the Upper Peninsula, and Wisconsin, Minnesota, and ended up in Fargo, North Dakota.
I think it would be fair to say we were in a completely different world. Talking about Trump, how is Trump doing for you in terms of health care?
I think it's unbelievable. There's no other country in the world. They say Sweden, I go to Sweden. Hey? That's socialism.
What about the people who I'm sure you read about in the news who are not as fortunate in having good coverage? How do we do in taking care of those people in this country?
What a difficult question to answer. I'm a greedy, selfish capitalist. I knew I had to work hard to make the money to do the things that I wanted to do, and I did.
I paid for health care my whole life. You know, I paid into the system. I didn't use the VA till I get older. I still pay supplemental insurance. You know, you got to pay something to get something.
There was a man, I remember, we were arriving at our hotel that evening, someplace in northeastern Ohio. There was a Trump re-election paraphernalia roadside stand, and I stopped just talking with this person who was manning the booth, as well as all the people that came up to buy stuff. It was the day we passed 100,000 deaths. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. Those people didn't really die of COVID. It was all a lie.
Would you just say where you you are today, what you're looking at, and also what day you are on your trip.
We are now overlooking either Lake Michigan or Lake Huron. We're at the place where they join together by Mackinac Island. And we are on day 25, I think, of our journey. Today was our rest day. Today we're just taking it easy, listening to the waves lapping on the small beach here in front of our hotel.
I think the thing that has been most striking, for whatever reason, many, if not all, of the people we've spoken with in the last week or so have been much more in the middle of the political spectrum, open to thinking about a national health approach and healthcare as a right.
And things went up, yeah.
We would like to see some public health initiative and healthcare for all, really.
They talk a lot about the pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare industry and see them as a real problem. Lobbying being the main issue that keeps their elected representatives from representing them as opposed to the healthcare lobbyists and the like. We're back on the other route now.
About almost a mile before.
So we have completed 5 weeks of cycling, and we have a little less than about 2 weeks left.
Now we're in this very small town. This is a totally open, warm community, welcoming to LGBT. They teach diversity in the schools. It's just like, wow, how did this happen? And the people here can't really explain. It's just that we've always cared about each other, and it's a small community, and we take care of each other. So it's been very pleasant to be here.
One of the people we're going to interview in a little while, she's a mechanic, and she's a male to female trans person who told us that during the time of transitioning, some of her clients would say, I don't care what you do on your own time, just be sure you keep fixing my car. And that was just a very touching idea.
Yeah, so where are you right now? Where are we sitting right now?
We're back in Tucson. We've completed almost 2,000 miles. We finished our trip a couple weeks ago.
So I realized after a while that my idea of having conversations with people to inform them was probably insane, because nobody was really willing to listen. No one, and most people saw healthcare only from their own personal perspective, and were not able to generalize. You've had healthcare, but there are millions of Americans that don't. What is our responsibility to them?
I kept a blog, and early on I challenged the readers to have a conversation with someone with whom they knew they disagreed. And I think the only way someone can do that is that sense of mutual respect, which means when I start speaking, I trust that you won't start until I'm done. And when you're speaking, I'm going to let you finish. And until you allow them to finish, you can't have a conversation.
How can we have a healthy and transformative conversation about racial equality? Community leaders Sam Brown and Debbie Chess share their experiences, opinions, and a suggestion. Just listen.
I think that one of the hardest things about these types of conversations is when white folks want to tell you about, in an attempt to create solidarity or empathy or connection, which is very genuine, I believe. I believe that is a very genuine sentiment. But how it manifests itself is kind of annoying, and that is to interrupt you and tell you about how either their daughter-in-law is black or their grandson is black, or they once observed this. And instead of just being quiet and let you tell your story and listen. Just listen. That's all. You don't have to have the answer. You don't have to know anything more than I know. You don't have to prove your non-bigotry, your non-racism. That's not what the conversation is right now. Just listen. Because a lot of times it feels like when those conversations start, they're in benefit to the white person. When a white person interrupts and starts trying to tell you their story on top of yours, the only reason that they've engaged in that conversation is so that they can prove to you how not racist they are, which, it's just a defeating, so I'm just a prop to your anti-racist narrative that you're painting for yourself. I'm a prop. And when white folks respond that way, that's what it feels like.
And it feels very uneven, because I always feel like you walk away satisfied with what you wanted out of the conversation, and I didn't. I feel like I have less than what I had at the beginning of the conversation, and I feel like now you're gonna go out into the world and do less because you feel satisfied that you had this conversation. Yeah. Ugh.
There is a bright side. We've sat here for the last hour or so and talked about, all these, but I think that there is a collective longing to do better and a willingness that I haven't seen before among white people to really just shut up and listen. And so I think maybe empathetic listening 101 is the first anti-racist training, ally training that white folks should undergo.
Next week,
what's his name?
will all of the recent calls for racial equality and efforts to have impactful conversations about race, equity, and justice continue? And will it matter? Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. See you next week.